Hi there, and welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today we're gonna make a sweet potato casserole right in the Ninja Foodi pressure cooker and air crisper. Now, what I have here is almost 4 pounds. So it's, I think 3 pounds, 10 ounces of sweet potatoes. So between 4 and 6 sweet potatoes is fine. Or you could even cut this recipe in half. That's fine too. It does make quite a bit, honestly. And what I did was I tried to pick out sweet potatoes that were about the same shape and size. Now you can see I really didn't do that great of a job because the store did not have that great of a selection. So just do your best in picking out, relatively uniform looking sweet potatoes. And one thing that I absolutely do not like about working with sweet potatoes is peeling them and chopping them because they're pretty tough to get through, and I don't like peeling any vegetable. So the pressure cooker makes this super easy because all we have to do is put the sweet potatoes in on the rack. Let me dump in the water first too. So I have 1 cup of just plain old tap water, and then we just dump in the sweet potatoes, fit them in just like that. Now that's about all you could get in here. It's a little bit raised up, but that's not going to create any problems. Our pressure lid's still going to go on. If you wanted to do more, you could use your sling and kind of fill that up. That would work as well. And you can even put these on the very bottom, but I like to keep them raised out of the water. It's going to make it a little bit easier for me to peel them after they go under pressure. So we are just going to go under pressure for 2 minutes. That's it. The only thing we're doing right now is getting those skins softened up so that we can peel them super easy. It also starts to cook the flesh of the sweet potato, so that has an advantage too. They're a little bit easier to chop. So we're gonna go 2 minutes. The pot will come up to pressure pretty quickly because there's only 1 cup of water in there. So I'm thinking somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes. We'll go under pressure for 2, and then I'll do an immediate release, and we'll get the sweet potatoes out of the pot to cool slightly so that we can handle them and peel them. And you can peel them really with your finger, honestly. You just peel off the skin, but I usually use the back of a spoon or the spoon itself and just peel them that way. So I'll show you that in just a second. All right, so we just have a few seconds to go on the 2-minute pressure cook. It took about 7 minutes to come up to pressure, so that's what I would expect if you're doing it at home. It takes about 7 minutes, and now it's done, and we can just do the immediate release. All right, that didn't take much time at all, less than a minute, and that's good. The pin just dropped, so we can go ahead and turn the lid, open it, but do that away from you, because it is steamy. Then I'm just gonna pull out the sweet potatoes. Now, if you're doing this at home, you could certainly just leave them in there and let them cool down if you didn't wanna be bothered with getting them out. It'll take a little bit longer to cool just because there's still some steam, but not enough to worry about. But for me, I'm gonna go ahead and pull them out. Now, they are super hot right now, but if you have gloves, you could certainly start to peel them now, or you can just let them cool off a little bit. Now, I'm gonna let them cool off a little bit because I know what happens when I start to peel them with the gloves. These turn into orange mess, really. So I'm gonna let them cool just a minute, and then I'm gonna show you how to peel them really easy. Meanwhile, I'm gonna get this pot emptied out as well because we're about to go back under pressure after we peel these, and we're gonna use some different liquids for that because now we're preparing to make our sweet potatoes for our casserole. And you could do this with mashed, or you could do it like in slices if you prefer. And I'm gonna go over both ways to do it, but for this recipe, I'm gonna do a mashed sweet potato casserole. All right, so I'm just gonna empty this, let these cool down, and then I'll show you how to peel them really easy. Okay. All right, so these have cooled down. I mean, just a couple of minutes, and I can, touch them without burning myself. So now what you want to do is just get a spoon, or you could use a vegetable peeler too, but I honestly find that using a spoon is just as easy. And you just go down and peel off the skin. And this does such a great job. You don't get hardly any of the flesh, so you are left with all the sweet potato that you want to use. So just go over it like this until you get the skin peeled off. So I'm going to go ahead and do this for all of the sweet potatoes, and then I'll show you how to slice them up so that you can get them back in the pressure cooker. And this will be the case even if you're going to do slices or if you're going to do a mashed sweet potato, you would peel and slice them about the same. Okay. All right, so I'm almost done peeling this one. I mean, it doesn't take hardly any time at all. I think it's a great way to peel sweet potatoes, honestly. Now, when I get the peel off, what I'm going to do is just take the little end off, just like that. And you see how easy that sliced through? Normally, when I go to slice a sweet potato that's not cooked at all, it's like, trying to get through it. It's so difficult. But just by that 2 minutes of pressure cook time, it really, really does a great job. All right, so I'm going to do the exact same thing with the rest of them, and then I will clean up my cutting board and I will show you how to slice them and get them back under pressure. All right, so I finished peeling all of the sweet potatoes. It took about 5 minutes. It really is super easy, and I cut the ends off and everything. Now, what I'm gonna do is get our liquid into the inner pot. This is what we're gonna use to pressure cook the sweet potatoes, as well as we're gonna leave it in there to mash them up. So I wanted to pick like flavorful broths and liquids, not just water. So what I have here is 1/2 cup of bone broth, that is chicken. Now, if you wanted to keep this vegetarian, you could certainly use a vegetarian stock, or you could use more orange juice, or you could use apple juice with orange juice, or just plain water would be okay. And then I have 1/2 cup of orange juice. And that's optional too. If you didn't want the little citrus flavor, you could use all chicken stock or a vegetable stock. But I wouldn't use all water because we want our sweet potatoes to have a great flavor at the end, and this is gonna help that. All right, so now that I have the sweet potatoes, and I told you I would talk about how to cut them, and this is gonna be the same no matter what you wanna do. The pressure cook time will be different though if you want to have a sliced sweet potato casserole. So what I recommend doing is cutting them in about 1-inch wheels. And you can see here, although it's easy to cut, only the outside is cooked, okay? So the inside is completely uncooked because that 2 minutes of pressure cooking time does not cook a sweet potato all throughout. So we are gonna get under pressure for 10 minutes if you want mashed sweet potatoes. If you don't want mashed, if you want them to be in wheels, because a lot of people like their sweet potatoes in wheels, then I would only pressure cook for 5 minutes. Now, I haven't tried that, guys, but that is my educated guess because they are very, very soft in 10 minutes. And we can mash them right in the pot. And I'm gonna show you how to do that without scratching the pot. All right, so there we go. Just put them right in the liquid. That's what we want, right in the liquid. No rack, no basket, no sling, just right in there. All right, so I'll finish doing the rest of these in the 1-inch wheels, and then we will get the pot under pressure for 10 minutes. You don't need to add anything else except for the broth or liquid that you want to use. All right, so now if you didn't want your wheels this big in your casserole and you wanted to keep them in slices, you could also cut them in half or cut them in quarters, but they're gonna cook a little bit quicker, so you might even take that pressure cook time down from like 5 minutes to maybe even 4 minutes, and then check on it. Again, I haven't tested it that way, so I'm not positive about the time. All right, we're gonna put the pressure lid on. We're gonna go to the seal position with the valve in the back, and we're gonna hit the power button, go to high pressure, and that's fine. It's gonna default to 10 minutes, and that's what we want. So we're gonna pressure cook these for 10 minutes, and then we will do an immediate release, and we will get the rest of our ingredients in there and mash them up. And then I have a topping I'm gonna show you while this is pressure cooking that is so quick and easy to do and absolutely delicious. All right, so on my sweet potato casserole, I'm gonna put a pecan topping on it, and it's a really easy topping. It's a little different than traditional marshmallows, but you could actually make this up and also toss it with some marshmallows if you wanted the pecans and the marshmallows on top of your sweet potato casserole. You know, you can do it however you like, but this is the way I prefer, and it's so quick and easy. So I'm gonna use my Ninja Foodi hot cold blender, but you do not have to have a hot cold blender to do this. You can certainly use a food processor, any other blender, or you could do it all by hand if you crush the nuts up like in a plastic baggie or something, and then just, you know, pound them with a rolling pin until they're crushed up. And then you could add all of these ingredients and combine them with a pastry cutter or even a fork. So don't worry if you don't have the blender or even a food processor, you can still do this. But I have it, and it makes it so quick and easy, so I'm gonna use it. Now, ordinarily, I recommend toasting any kind of nuts that you're gonna use, but because we are going to toast these up on top of the casserole, I don't need to worry about that right now. So I'm just gonna put in 1 cup of pecan halves, and they are not roasted. And we're gonna put the lid back onto the hot cold blender, turn the blender on, and I'm just gonna give it a couple of pulses. Ooh. It's really fast. All right, that looks good, really. Like 2 or 3 pulses is fine. Now we can go ahead and add in the other ingredients. And I have a 1/4 teaspoon of fine grind sea salt here that I want to add in. That's optional, you don't have to, but I always put a little bit of salt in any of my toppings or any of my baked goods. Salt really enhances the flavor, even if it's in a sweet baked good or topping like this. It really does bring out the flavors, so I always use a little bit, and that's just a 1/4 teaspoon. 1/4 cup of brown sugar, that could be dark or light. I'm just using light brown sugar. 1/4 cup of flour. And then I have a 1/4 cup or 1/2 of a stick of salted butter that I just cut up into these little slices, and it's cold. You want your butter cold. You could even pop it in the freezer if you wanted, because all we're gonna do is make like a little crumb topping, kind of like you do if you're making an apple crisp. All right, now I'm just gonna pulse until I see all that butter sort of break up and become crumbly. And that looks good. So we are done. We have now made the topping. And the pot has just come up to pressure, so we have about 9 minutes. So meanwhile, while that's happening, I will get this into a bowl, or I could actually probably just pour it right out of here. That's what I'll probably do. Why dirty another bowl, you know? And I'm gonna get the ingredients that we need to finish mashing our potatoes. And I will also go over how you would do it if you wanted your potatoes in slices instead. All right. All right, so we just have a couple more minutes left on the 10-minute pressure cook time. And so what I did was I gathered my ingredients that I'm gonna use in my mashed sweet potato casserole. And what I have is 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. This is not the balsamic glaze that is very thick. This is just plain balsamic vinegar. But if you have the glaze, you can use that too. I would just use about 1½ teaspoons of the glaze to 1½ teaspoons of water, and that'll thin it out and give you the right consistency. I have 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and I know people are already going, no way, not doing it. You don't have to, it's fine. But if you follow any of my videos, you know I like that sweet, spicy combination. So we're gonna have the sweet potatoes a little more on the savory side. I'm not sweetening them up with a ton of brown sugar or anything, but I am gonna have this super sweet topping on there. And so it pairs really nice. So if you like something a little different, give it a try because it's really fantastic. Then I have 1/2 cup of honey. I'm choosing honey over brown sugar just because it's my preference in this recipe, but you could use brown sugar. I mean, you could mash your sweet potatoes with brown sugar, a little cinnamon, a little nutmeg, and some butter and a little salt, and it would be perfectly fine. In fact, you could do anything you want with your sweet potatoes. It'll be perfectly fine in this recipe, but these are the ingredients I'm gonna use. Then I have a little bit of salt. This is just 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I have 1/2 stick or 1/4 cup of butter. The butter's room temperature. That's just gonna help us incorporate it into the sweet potato. Now, if you wanted to candy your sweet potatoes, so you wanted to keep them into wheels and not mash them up like I'm gonna do, I would combine your ingredients, whether you use these ingredients or whether you use whatever you wanna use in your candied sweet potatoes. Combine them into a bowl, whisk them up and everything. Then once you get the potatoes into your casserole, pour that over top and that will work. But because we're gonna mash them, I'm gonna be dumping everything into the pot. And there's our timer, so we can go to an immediate release. All right, the pin dropped, so now I can open up the lid. You know, you always want to do that away from you. All right, so if you wanted to, again, keep your sweet potatoes in slices like this, obviously they would not be cooked quite as soft as these are. You would just scoop them out now, put them in your casserole dish, and then pour whatever ingredients you mixed up over top, okay? But since I'm gonna mash these, we're gonna go ahead and get our ingredients right in. So I'm gonna put in the 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, the 1/2 teaspoon of pepper flakes, the honey. I was extremely happy with the outcome of this recipe during the testing phase. It was so easy to do, and oh my gosh, the flavors were amazing. I'm not a real big fan of sweet potatoes. I do like them on the sweeter side, but not necessarily like I'm eating a pumpkin pie, you know? So this was really a good balance, I thought. All right, there's the 1/4 teaspoon of salt, sorry. And then the 1/4 cup or half of a stick of salted butter. We're gonna put that in there. Now, if you did not have any type of tool that you could use to mash them right in the pot, and I should have mentioned this before, obviously, you could remove them from the pot, put them in whatever, and then use a hand beater. You could use your mixer if you wanted to, but I have a little tool from Pampered Chef that's called, I think it's called the Mix and Mash. And I didn't think it was going to work, to be honest with you. I thought this was kind of a gimmicky little thing, but it works really great. Other people have also said that they use their mix and chop to do this. So if you have that tool, you can use that as well. Then I'm just going to go in and just mash these up. And it is amazing how this goes through these sweet potatoes. And you can do it as chunky or as smooth as you like. So basically you just kind of stir and mash down, and it makes it super easy. This works great, really great for potatoes too, and perfect for potato soup because, you know, sometimes you want a little texture, so you have, you can just do it however, you know, to what consistency you like. And you don't have to worry about it scratching the pot. That's what I like. All right, they are almost mashed up as smooth as I like. Not quite, but almost. What I'm gonna do right now is just give them a little bit of a taste because that's important. You wanna taste your food while you're cooking. Don't wait till the end. We might need to season some more. So I'm gonna give it a taste. Wow. These are so good. I really hope that you guys give this grouping of ingredients a try this year when you make your sweet potato casserole because it's so fantastic. You can taste the honey, but the sweet potato flavor really comes through. It's not masked like it is when you do a whole bunch of brown sugar. It's a little buttery. Now you could add more butter if you wanted. I think it's great just the way it is though, so I'm not gonna do that. And if it's not whipping up the way you want, you could also add a little more chicken stock, a little more, you could even add a little cream if you wanted, but these are looking pretty good to me. So the next step is to get it into a casserole dish. And you can choose any casserole dish you want. It doesn't matter. If it fits in the Foodi, you can use it because we're only gonna go under the bake roast function and maybe the broil function. So do make sure that it's heat safe, obviously, up to the broil function. So up to 425 degrees will work fine. I happen to have a pretty big casserole dish here, but it does fit in the Ninja Foodi. It's pretty deep. This is the only one that I have that's like a nice size that will fit right in the Ninja Foodi, so I'm gonna use it. My casserole might not come up all the way to the top, but you know, that's life. And it's pretty for serving. One of the great things about this recipe is that you could make it up to this point in advance. So you could make it a day or two ahead of time. That's perfectly fine. Put your sweet potato mixture into your casserole dish, cover it, and put it in the fridge. When you want to serve it, probably like an hour before or so, you're gonna want to steam it in the Ninja Foodi. You don't wanna go under pressure unless you are in a pressure safe container, and then you could, but I like steaming. I think it works great. So I would cover this to seal it from any of the moisture in there, and I would put 2 cups of water in the Ninja Foodi, and I would steam it for about 25 minutes to make sure that it got completely heated through. You can even make your topping up ahead of time and just put it into a container and put it in the refrigerator until you're ready to use. So this is totally a make ahead type of dish. And I love those, especially when you're gonna have like a dinner party or some kind of a celebration when you've got a lot going on. You could also heat this back up in the oven. However, dense things like potatoes take a really long time to heat in the oven. That's one of the things that I almost always get wrong when hosting some kind of a dinner party is I underestimate the time it takes for potatoes and certain casseroles to get heated through. So a great trick is definitely to use the Ninja Foodi on the steam function to get it all the way heated. Then you could put your topping on top and put it in the oven with the rest of your food that's warming up, and that'll be great. You'll cook the topping. As long as the oven temperature is about 325 to 350 degrees, you'll be fine. All right, so now I'm gonna dump this in. The pot is hot, so I'm definitely gonna put gloves on for this. And I'm not sure that, this tool is the right tool, but I think it'll start to work anyway, right? I think my Ninja Foodi's screaming at me because I have the pot out, you know, and it's on the keep warm, but that's okay. This works pretty well. And see how much this makes? I mean, this is a big casserole, so it makes quite a bit. Now I'm just gonna go around here with this other thing that's already dirty. These are beautiful. I love the vibrant color of them. It gets kind of muted when you use a lot of brown sugar too. They kind of take on a darker color, obviously, because the brown sugar is darker. All right, so now what I need to do is, and I'm not gonna put this topping on until I'm really ready to go in on the, I'm not gonna use this, that's not making good sense there. I'll use this one. So I'm gonna smooth this out. And I don't want to put the topping on right now. I don't want that butter to start to melt. So don't put that on until you're ready to cook it, which I will be in just a minute. But right now, I'm going to smooth this out. Ooh, my husband doesn't really like sweet potatoes, but you know what? I think he's going to like these because they're not super, super sweet, but they've got this great flavor of honey and that tiny kick, and I mean it's tiny, of the red pepper flakes. Ooh, I'm so excited. All right, I'm gonna clean this pot out and then we're gonna get the topping on. We're gonna get our casserole into the Ninja Foodi to bake, and then we'll be ready to eat. So good. Are you rolling? Jeff? He's supposed to tell me. All right, so I'm gonna preheat the Ninja Foodi. All right, we're gonna go turn it back on. We're gonna go on to, oops, wrong one. We're gonna go to the, actually I'm gonna do bake roast. Sorry about that, guys. I think Jeff kind of threw me off because he started filming before he told me. All right, so we're gonna go down on the temperature to 350 and we're gonna hit the start. It doesn't matter what time it is. We're gonna just preheat for for 10 minutes. And so it could be 15, that's fine. All right, so I wanted to talk about why I have my casserole in a sling, okay? Because you don't need to use the sling. I have it in the sling because my casserole dish is too high and it will not fit on the rack into the Ninja Foodi. It doesn't even like close up. The rack won't even close up so I can fit it in. So I have to use the sling. But again, you can use any container you want. You just want it to be about, I would say 4 or 5 inches deep. I think the 8-inch baking pan would work for this as well because this is not quite 8 inches. So I think that baking pan, the dark coated one, would work great for this casserole. And it's also really pretty. So you could take it from Foodi to table without any issues at all. You don't need to transfer it because you don't want to transfer it after you get the topping on. All right, so when this is down to about, let's say 6 minutes, I'm gonna put the topping on. So I'm just gonna let this finish preheating. All right, so we just have a few more minutes of the preheat. So I'm about to get the topping on here, but I wanted to let you know why I had this cup out. I am working on a recipe for sweet potato dinner rolls that are, oh my gosh, some of the best dinner rolls I've ever had. And I use this mixture in them. Now I have a whole cup, a heaping cup here, because I haven't finalized the times and the temps yet, but you need a quarter cup. And so if you make this and you want to make sweet potato rolls, take a quarter cup of this out, maybe a half of a cup just to be safe, before you put your topping on, and then you can use it in your sweet potato rolls. Otherwise, you could just use canned sweet potato, or you'd probably even get away with pumpkin, really. But there are a sweet potato roll, and this filling, or this sweet potato casserole, works perfect in the rolls. All right, so now I'm going to get the topping on, which should be fairly straightforward. We're gonna pour it out. If I pour it all into the center, which is fine, I'll move it around. Now with this blender, you do have to take like a skinny scraper and kind of go down into the well, because the well is pretty deep, and then get the rest of it out. Perfect. All right, so I'm just going to smooth this out on the top here. Till it's just about even. Look at that, we're perfect timing. All right, now, I have tested this recipe, and I have determined that the way I like it done is on 350 degrees for 20 minutes, and then maybe a little tiny bit of broil, because I want all the butter to be able to melt and combine with the flour that's in there so it tastes completely cooked. I'm sure you could probably get away with going up to 375 or even 400 and dropping that time back, but you do need to watch it and make sure that it's cooking evenly and it's not burning on top. So my preference is 350 for 20 minutes, but if you don't have that time, you want to kind of speed this up. You know, give it a try to do 375 or 400. If it's cooking too fast, you can always adjust your temperature down some, so you can just keep playing with it until you get it right. All right, so we're gonna go up to 20 minutes. And lift the lid. And I'm gonna go ahead and lift my casserole right on in there. Tuck these little guys down to the side. Now the pot's hot, but my pan is not hot, so I'm folding them towards the pan so I don't burn myself. And then I proceeded to touch the pot. Yeah, that's life. Okay, there we go. 20 minutes, and then we'll check on it and we'll see how it's browning up. By that time, it should be nice and bubbly and cooked through and have a little bit of browning going on, but we can always broil it a little bit to get that final touch. We're a little more than halfway through the 20-minute cook time, and I can smell the pecans a lot. So I'm gonna take a peek now, because they could be burning. And this is a great opportunity now to add on some melted butter. Totally optional, but it does add another layer of deliciousness to this dish. So let's take a peek, and yes, I can see a couple of them burning. I can smell it when pecans really over toast. So what that tells me is that the butter crumbles didn't get all the way through the whole mixture. I can also see some areas where the pecans are just kind of sitting here and not really browning up. But I'm gonna help that along with this delicious melted butter. And this is a half of a stick. I don't know if I'll use it all. I want to get it even. If I poured it over, I would definitely be putting it on unevenly. So I'm just gonna kind of dab it on, especially where I see those pecans that aren't really browning up. You could also sprinkle some brown sugar, some more brown sugar on top if you wanted it a little bit sweeter. Ooh, this looks so good. I might use it all, why not, right? You only eat a little bit of the topping anyway. Oh, goodness. This is perfect. Now, I didn't do this in my test recipe, And I'm not sure why, because this is gonna be really good. Every time I make a recipe, I tend to wanna like tweak it a little bit to just make it even better. And that looks perfect. So now we will go the rest of the time. I will keep an eye on it though, because I don't want it to burn, but I don't think it will in the 8 minutes we have left, but I'll keep an eye on it. All right, just a few seconds left. I did check on it probably about 2 or 3 times. It is browning up beautifully. I don't even think we're gonna need to broil. After adding that butter, it really came together beautifully. So I highly recommend adding that extra butter, unless you're really watching your calories, and then you can skip it. So just about 10 seconds to go, and then we'll open up the lid. We will have to let it cool just for a minute, just because it's gonna be piping hot, but not too long. And then I'll be able to plate it up and taste it. I'm excited for you to see this because it's gorgeous. All right, ready? The big reveal. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Now I'm just gonna take my spoon. Now you're not supposed to use any metal in the pot, of course, but all I wanna do is just get underneath this little strap here and pull it up so that I have something to grab onto. So I'm trying not to touch the pot really at all. There we go. That's just makes it a little easier. All right, now I'm gonna lift it out here. And if you don't have one of these slings and you wanna get one, they are in my Amazon store, and I will also link to it below in the video description. My Amazon store is www.amazon.com/shop/the salted pepper. And everything that I use in my videos, I have there in categories, whether it's kitchen tools or accessories for the Ninja Foodi, so you can easily find anything that I cook with in case you're interested in picking it up. All right, so the Ninja Foodi's off. We're gonna just let this cool. I would say, I don't know. I don't even know if I wanna let it cool. It's so good. But as this top cools, it's gonna crisp up. So you know what? I am going to be patient, and I'm gonna let it cool for about 5 minutes, but just 5 minutes. All right, so this has cooled down just about 5 minutes, and I can tell that it's settled up some and cooled down, and I can get like a little bit of the crunchiness. I don't know if you can hear it. That's what makes it perfect. Okay, let's go. Now you know the first scoop is always like at least, oh wow, the least beautiful one, but I don't know. This is pretty spectacular here. I love it. Oh my gosh, I just love the way it looks. It smells incredible. I mean, incredible. It's like almost like a pecan pie topping that, oh my gosh, it smells so good. All right, I'm gonna get some of the sweet potato casserole with hardly any of the topping at first here. It's hot. Oh my gosh. I gave my husband some of this before I put the topping on, and even he likes it. Now the heat, like the spiciness from the red pepper flakes, like I can really taste that. Not that I need to drink a gallon of water or anything, it's not like that, but I can taste it. So if you're sensitive to spicy things, you either wanna cut that down or omit that altogether. Oh, but this is good. All right, let's get it the way it is intended to be eaten, and that is with some of the topping and the sweet potatoes. And I hope I don't burn my mouth because it is piping hot here. Okay, I'm excited. Perfect. It is perfect. I am so happy. That added butter really took this up a notch, even from my tested recipes. So I encourage you to use it, even if you don't use the whole extra quarter of a cup, even if you just do a couple tablespoons and drizzle it over top. It really made a difference. I am absolutely in love with this. Now, again, you could use it. You could use this topping with your cut sweet potatoes. It would be fine. Absolutely fine. I think everybody is going to love this recipe because it's sweet enough but not too sweet. So everybody, unless they don't like any spice, and then again, just omit those red pepper flakes. Keep in mind, I do not like sweet potatoes very much. This is a winner. I hope you give this recipe a try, and pretty soon I will show you how to make the homemade sweet potato rolls using the reserved half of a cup to it's a quarter cup actually, of this sweet potato. So definitely turn on your notifications and subscribe to my channel so that you get notified every time I put out a new recipe for you.